often when we, as Black people, compare our plight to some other people that have ever existed in the world, our plight from slavery through segregation, Jim Crow, up into the present, very often we make comparisons to the Hebrews who were enslaved in Egypt for 400 years, came out and God took them, brought them, delivered them from bondage and brought them into their promised land. And I think that that's an apt comparison. But now I would like to delve just for a small period of time into ancient Black history. And for those of you who attended Africa's contribution to the Bible course a couple of years back, some of this may seem familiar to you. But there was another people who came into contact with the mighty empire of Egypt roughly the same time as the Hebrews, maybe a little bit earlier. These people were referred to as Cush. In the Bible, if you look in Genesis chapter 10, when after the flood, there's a listing of all of the descendants of Noah. Noah had a son, his name was Ham. Ham had 4 sons, one was Canaan, but one was Cush. The oldest son of Noah's grandson's name was Cush, C-U-S-H. You can look it up. For those of you who have strong concordance, if you're inclined to do that kind of research, let me give you the number for that. The number is 3568 in strong concordance. Look it up. And here's the thing that you're going to find when you look up 3568 in the Strong's Concordance, that the name Cush means black. So I'm going to tell you this right up front. We're having a study about Black history because of all the things that we've been called: Negroes, African Americans, Africa Americas. The first thing that we were ever called in the Bible is black. We are black. That is literally what that name Cush means. It's the first time the name Cush is used to describe. It's really, as far as I can tell, and again, you guys can fact check me on this, and this is the history, the Black history. Because often when we talk about Black history, we only talk about the last 400 years that we've been here in America, when in fact, Black history goes back thousands and thousands and thousands of years. But the first time anything that I can see in scripture, and you scholars, please tell me if I'm wrong. First time that I hear or read any reference or description of any person's race in scripture is right here. Cush, black. Now, Cush had a son named Nimrod. Nimrod is a person that is in the Bible. I think we all know about Nimrod because he was the first empire builder. Or if I could put it in modern day terminology, my Black brothers and sisters who I love so much and appreciate so much, the first colonizers on planet Earth, as far as I can tell, if the biblical record is correct, were Black people. Nimrod was the son of Cush. And Nimrod, according to scriptures, and for those of you who want to reference this later, Genesis chapter 10, where it's listing the genealogy of Noah and his sons, Nimrod established 3 different kingdoms that we know existed in secular history. He built, or he was part of, he established the town of Babel, from which we get the Tower of Babel, or Babel. But he also was responsible for establishing a place called Iraq, and it's spelled E-R-E-C-H. You may know this place today as Iraq. And he was also responsible for establishing a place called Akkad, and that's A-C-C-A-D. And if you study ancient history, then what you will find out is the Akkadian Empire was the empire, the great empire that preceded the Babylonian Empire. So what I'm telling you is that who started all this? Nimrod. Who is Nimrod? The son of Cush. Who is Cush? The black man, the first black man that is mentioned in the Bible, the first man where there's any reference to his color, his race, it just means black. That's all it means. Now, by way of reference, if you recall, if you were in the Black history class, Africa's contribution to the Bible class, We talked about the fact that the place that we call Egypt, those people did not refer to themselves as Egyptians. The name Egypt is an adaptation of the name that the Greeks came up with for those people who live in what we call Egypt. The full name that the Greeks called them was, or called the place, was Aegyptus. A-E, and then Egypt, and on the end, U-S, Aegyptus. It's been abbreviated to Egypt. But what did the people themselves refer to themselves as being? I'm going to give you 3 pieces of data. And it's critical because now we're talking Black history. And I think that when we learn our history in its entirety, it gives us a sense of pride. Not that we're better, but that at least we're running alongside of everyone else. But in some areas, we started the party with science, religion, and medicine. So George Reisner, I believe it was, and James Henry Breasted were the first Egyptologists. George Reisner was a archaeologist that was funded and who worked under the auspices of Harvard University, and James Henry Breasted worked under the auspices and established the Oriental Institute in the University of Chicago, which is still there. Those 2 individuals established the study of Egyptology. But when they came into Egypt and they discovered all of the brilliant and the wonderful and magnificent structures and pottery and art and tools, and just, they were overwhelmed, but they had a problem because this place was located on the continent that we know as Africa. And so they came up with a theory, and that's all it was, a false theory, that maybe people came across the Mediterranean Sea, or white people came across the Mediterranean Sea, set up all this technology, set up all of this infrastructure, built all of these great edifices, and left. Because no way on God's green earth could it be a Black man or Black people that created all of this stuff, that built all of this stuff, that established all of this stuff. But they were wrong. Now, archaeologists and Egyptologists today, in all of these higher institutions of learning, Harvard, Yale, the University of Chicago, admit that Breasted and Reisner were jaded by their prejudice against Black people. But I'm telling you this because we have not heard this in our Black history classes. Again, in our Black history classes, we're talking about we shall overcome, and we shall overcome. We're talking about Dr. King, and we're talking about Rosa Parks, and we need to know about those people. We're talking about Thurgood Marshall. We're talking about George Washington Carver, but you have not heard of Pianke.